Hello traders, welcome to another weekly market outlook. As we head into the new trading week, let's look at potential trading opportunities the market may present. Mind you, every trading idea shared on this video is simply my own personal trading ideas and not financial advice. So do your own research, trade responsibly, and manage risk. Alright, as you can see on my screen here, we're expecting federal fund rate data release next week on Wednesday, and on Thursday we're expecting advanced GDP data release and also core PCE price index. So all these data by next week, if they are released, is really going to create volatility in the market. So as we get into next week, trade responsibly and manage risk. Okay, let's head to the chart and see what we have. Starting with DXY, as you can see on my screen here on the weekly time frame. Last week in our analysis, we expected that probably price may pull back into this demand zone for a long opportunity, but then it never happened as expected. You can see market right now continuing to the upside. Now you see market ranging, and there might be a possible breakout from this range zone in the coming week. So next week, what I will do is to observe the price action and see if price should break out from this zone. Then any pullback, I may look for continuation. That's what I will do, because currently now dollar still remain bullish. So the only trading opportunity I'll be looking for now is to long. I was expecting that price may pull back to this demand zone before I look for that long opportunity, but it seems not to come to pass. So what I'll simply do is to wait and see if by next week on the 4 hours time frame, if price can pull back to this 4 hours demand zone here, I will look for a long opportunity. Even if it's a 1 to 2, 1 to 3 risk reward ratio, then I will begin to target that idea. Okay, so that's what I will do next week. I will pay attention to 4 hours next week. If price should pull back to this zone, I will look for an entry to continue the ride. But if price for any reason violate this zone and continue to the downside, then any retest to any new latest supply zone, I might look forward to continue downward back to that demand zone on the daily time frame we are talking about. So that is my trading idea on the DXY in the coming week. Heading to the next pair here on our list, which is EURUSD. EURUSD, as you all know, is just an inverse of US dollar index. So whatever is happening on the dollar index, the opposite is what you will see on EURUSD. So here on the weekly time frame, the idea still remains the same. In the coming week, on the daily time frame, I'm looking forward to see a continuation to the downside. So if price should break out, give a retest, then I will continue to the downside. Okay. On the 4 hours time frame on EURUSD, what I will do is to watch 4 hours and see if there will be a pullback to this supply here. Then I'll look forward to short, and when I short, I'll begin to target this demand zone down here, which if you look back very well, you see that clear 4 hours demand zone here. Okay, so it's a very good zone to look for trading opportunities in the coming week. So I'll pay attention to 4 hours time frame to see if this trade setup will align. Then I'll look for entry. That is my idea on EURUSD. Alright, the next one on our list here is S&P 500. S&P 500 on the daily time frame, as you can see, my trading idea still remains the same to that of last week analysis. Okay, I'm still open to see price will pull back to this demand zone. Then I'll look for a long opportunity. On the 4 hours time frame here, other things I was looking forward to see is if price pulls back to this supply zone, then I may look for a temporary short to this demand zone before that overall long opportunity I'm looking forward. Okay, if I see any slight pullback to this supply in the 4 hours time frame, I may short US 500 into this daily demand zone where I'm looking for the overall long opportunity. So that's my trading idea for US 500 in the coming week. Now I'm heading to the next pair on our list here, which is gold. Gold actually last week in our analysis, we identify some zones where we're expecting to take entry, but those zones were violated. Number one of such zone was here. We look forward to take a trade at this particular 4 hours supply zone. At the end of the day, that zone was not respected. Okay. Then also at this particular previous high here, we are also looking forward to take a trade from that zone, but then market also violated that zone, which I said if I should experience that, I will stay away from the market and observe what price will do next. So right now, price having cleared those zones with a breakout from this channel to the upside, return again for a retest, it didn't fully mitigate my 4 hours demand zone, which would have given me opportunity to look for a temporal long opportunity. So right now, what I'm looking forward to see in the coming week is any pullback to this supply zone, I will look for a short. Another scenario is this: if price pull back to this demand zone first, and I see any form of shift in market structure to the upside, then I'll look for a long to continue to that supply zone there. That is my trading idea on gold in the coming week. If I see any pullback to this demand zone and I see a shift in market structure, I will look for long that supply zone there. Now also on gold here, I'm not really going to risk much on gold around these two zones because these are just internal zones. Overall, we have this low here and this high here. So this is our protected high, while this is now our what? Protected low. So everything happening within this high and the low. Any zone that we trade within this zone, I will be extremely very careful. I will not fix much. I will manage risks properly as I enter the trade. So what I'm looking forward to see is if those analyses should materialize, I will look for long from here, or I will look for shorts from this zone. I still look forward that gold may likely break this previous low. Okay, if you understand your market structure very well, which I will not go into details here, you will realize that 4 hours time frame having created lower low, possible lower high here, the next would be to likely create another lower low. Then give us a structure such as this lower low before that possible reversal to the upside. So I'll pay attention to 4 hours in the coming week to look for trading opportunities. Another thing I will pay critical attention to in the coming week as I'm trading gold is the escalation going on in the Middle East, and also the interest rate data that will be released, I think Wednesday next week, as well as the advanced GDP data that will be released as well. Those two data, they are going to be a catalyst to decide the possible direction that this market will head to overall. So while we pay attention to these zones, I will also pay attention to those data release. Okay, now let's get to the next pair on our list, which is oil. If you can remember last week here on the daily time frame in our analysis, we said that if price should pull back into this zone, that we are going to look for a longer opportunity. That was our analysis in our last weekly market outlook. And as expected, oil actually moved in that direction. So for those who took that particular trade, congratulations to you. So in the coming week, price right now is within our daily supply zone. So what I'm looking forward to see is if there will be a shift in market structure within this supply zone. Then before I will look for any form of short. Anything outside that, no short. How will I do that? I will see if price will pull back to this zone. Then the price should pull back and clear this low and give us a shift in market structure. Then any pullback to that zone, I will look for a temporary short before a possible continuation, depending on what is happening in the Middle East, which is the overall catalyst that is moving the oil price. So in the coming week, I'll really pay attention to 4 hours time frame to see how market reacts to the daily zone, which also correspond with this 4 hour zone and this weekly supply zone as well. So I'll really pay attention to those time frame. Now the last one on our list here, which is BTC. BTC in the coming week, if you look at weekly time frame, market is yet to close. Price is now reversing back to the downside. So there may be a possibility that this week BTC will continue to the downside. I'm currently on this particular trade, but I'm already on break even. So next week, what I'm looking forward to see is if price will continue to the downside all the way to my expected reaction zone, which is this daily demand zone here. If price should get to this daily demand zone, that's where I'm expecting to take profits, and then I'll look forward another trading opportunity to the upside, depending on what the interest rate and the advanced GDP data release will be. Okay, on the 4 hours time frame, if you look at 4 hours very well, 4 hours price reacting again to this 4 hour supply zone, rejected, and then begin to go to the downside. So right now, if price next week break below this low here, which gave rise to this high, and we'll have something like this, then I might look forward to scaling or still hold my position all the way down to this demand zone, where I will also look for an entry opportunity to continue to the upside. Mind you, in all this analysis, all we do is to react to what the market presents. Okay? Price will not always move in your direction. Price will not always do what you expect. Price doesn't care about your feelings or emotions. So all you need to do is to control risk. That is all we have for today. I look forward to see you once again in the coming week. All right? Trade responsibly, manage risk, and build wealth.